Have you ever looked at your blood test and wondered, why does my creatinine keep rising? Even though I'm eating clean, avoiding salt, and doing everything right. If that question has ever haunted you for even a moment, you need to hear what I'm about to say, because the answer is far more dangerous and far more urgent than anyone has ever told you. Right now, at this very moment, millions of Americans are walking around with kidneys that are slowly suffocating, quietly choking under a burden they were never designed to carry. And the terrifying part, most of them feel perfectly fine. No pain, no warning, just a silent decline happening meal after meal, filter after filter, day after day, until one morning the damage is no longer reversible. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you because no one warned my patients in time. They thought they were eating healthy. They thought they were protecting their heart, their energy, their strength. And yet the very foods they trusted the most were quietly accelerating kidney aging, raising their blood pressure, and pushing them toward chronic kidney disease long before a single symptom ever appeared. That's how kidney damage works quietly, consistently, and without mercy. But here's the part that matters most and the part that gives you control again. I'm Dr. Johnny, and today I'm going to reveal the truth your kidneys have been trying to tell you for years. I'll show you the 4 proteins, yes, everyday proteins sitting right in your fridge, that silently injure your filtration system, and the 3 gentle kidney-safe proteins that can do the exact opposite, lower inflammation, reduce creatinine, and help your kidneys regain the strength they've been losing over time. And if you listen carefully, you'll understand why just one small change in your meals could be the difference between lifelong dialysis or lifelong freedom. Because the danger is real, but so is the hope. And as you're about to see, the real story of your kidneys doesn't begin with what you've lost. It begins with what you choose next. Before we dive into the proteins most people eat every week without thinking twice, I want to take you back to the moment that first opened my eyes to how deadly healthy foods can be when your kidneys stop recovering the way they used to. Because the truth is, kidney damage rarely begins with junk food. It often begins with something we were taught to trust. One of the first patients who taught me this lesson was Robert, a 62-year-old retired engineer with a quiet personality and a strong belief in traditional nutrient-dense foods. He walked into my office with swollen ankles, constant fatigue, and a look of confusion on his face. "Doctor," he said, "I'm eating liver because people say it's good for my blood. So why am I getting worse?" When his creatinine came back almost doubled in just 6 months, I knew we needed to look deeper, not at what he avoided, but at what he thought was healthy. Organ meats like liver, kidney, and heart have been praised for decades as superfoods packed with iron, vitamin A, and amino acids. And for young, healthy kidneys, that might be true. But once you cross 50, these foods transform from nutrient-dense to kidney-damaging. The problem lies in their incredibly high purine content. When you digest purines, they break down into uric acid. And this isn't the gentle, harmless acid most people imagine. In aging kidneys, uric acid begins to crystallize into microscopic shards, sharp glass-like particles that scrape the delicate filters inside your kidneys. One meal might not hurt you, but repetition. That's where the silent destruction begins. Imagine the glomeruli, the microscopic filters in your kidneys, as thousands of fragile windows. Each time uric acid spikes, it's like dragging a handful of sandpaper across those windows. At first, you don't feel anything. There's no pain, no burning, no alarm. But slowly, the surface becomes rough, inflamed, scarred, until the filters lose their ability to clear waste efficiently. That's why early kidney decline feels like mystery fatigue. Heavier legs, puffier mornings, or cloudy urine signals we often dismiss. And the science behind this is undeniable. A long-term analysis by the National Kidney Foundation followed more than 23,000 adults over 60 years old. They found that people who ate organ meats 3 or more times per week had a 38% higher risk of reduced kidney function. That's not superstition, that's chemistry. Every serving loads the bloodstream with purines, nitrogen waste, and heavy metabolic byproducts your aging kidneys struggle to eliminate. I still remember the look on Robert's face when I explained this. Shocked, frustrated, almost betrayed. "But it's natural food," he whispered. Yes. Natural yet overwhelming for a kidney that filters 150 to 180 liters of blood every day without applause or rest. The solution wasn't to ban organ meats forever, But to respect their intensity, soak them in diluted vinegar to reduce purines, rinse them thoroughly, and limit portions to protect the filters that keep you alive. What made Robert's case so unforgettable wasn't just his numbers. It was his realization that healthy is not universal, it's personal. It depends on how well your kidneys handle the load. And if you've ever eaten liver heart or kidney thinking you were doing something good for your body, you're not alone. Many people across America do the same without understanding the silent trade-off. But identifying this danger is only the beginning, because organ meats are just the spark. The real fire, the protein that keeps inflammation burning deep inside your kidneys, is something even more common, something millions of people eat every week believing it's the leaner, cleaner choice. And that's where the real shock begins. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because the next protein is even more damaging and far more deceptive, yet almost everyone consumes it without realizing how quickly it accelerates kidney decline. And once you understand how organ meats quietly strain your filtration system, it becomes easier to see the next trap, because the danger doesn't end when people stop eating liver. In fact, most of my patients make the same well-intentioned mistake. They switch straight to red meat thinking it's the cleaner and safer upgrade. But what they don't realize is that red meat doesn't attack your kidneys the same way organ meats do. It attacks them from a completely different angle, and sometimes that angle is even more destructive. I remember this painfully well because of a longtime patient named Linda. She was 58, vibrant, disciplined, and proud of her lifestyle changes. She cut out fried foods, stopped eating organ meats, drank more water, and walked every morning. But she always said something that stayed with me, Dr. Johnny. I still want strong protein, so I treat myself to grilled steak twice a week. No oil, no butter, pure clean meat. She said it with confidence, almost relief, like she had outsmarted her old habits. Yet every visit her creatinine rose a little higher. Every month her energy dipped lower. And every time she looked at me, the same question returned. Why am I still so tired? The answer was sitting right on her dinner plate. Red meat, even lean cuts, carries a hidden burden: saturated fats and heme iron, two powerful drivers of chronic inflammation. When your body digests saturated fat, it triggers inflammatory cytokines that travel directly through the bloodstream. These inflammatory messengers don't just float around harmlessly. They pass through the kidneys like an inflammatory storm, irritating the glomeruli until they become swollen, pressured, and overworked. Think of it like increasing the water pressure inside an old garden hose. It doesn't burst immediately, but the walls thin, the leaks form, and the damage becomes irreversible long before you notice the first drip. Science has repeatedly shown this pattern. One of the most striking findings comes from the Nurses' Health Study, which tracked more than 52,000 older adults for 8 years. Their conclusion was unmistakable: individuals who ate red meat 4 or more times per week had a 42% higher rate of chronic kidney disease compared to those who ate it less than once a week. 42%, that's nearly 1 in 2. Not because steak is toxic, but because the combination of heme iron, saturated fat, and oxidative byproducts keeps the kidneys locked in a slow-burning inflammatory cycle. And here's the part most people never hear. You can still enjoy red meat in moderation. You just need to prepare it in a way that protects your kidneys instead of overwhelming them. A simple marinade using turmeric and lemon can significantly reduce inflammation. Curcumin. The active compound in turmeric has been shown to decrease systemic inflammation by up to 15%. Lemon or vinegar helps break down harmful compounds formed during cooking. And cooking meat at moderate temperatures instead of charring it prevents toxic byproducts that place even more oxidative stress on your kidneys. But let me ask you a question, because your answer might reveal more than you think. In the last 7 days, did red meat show up on your plate even once? And if it did, how was it cooked? These small decisions repeated week after week, month after month, quietly shape the future of your kidneys. Most people never realize it until their blood tests begin whispering the truth. And as concerning as red meat is, this still isn't the most alarming part of the story. Because while red meat fuels inflammation, like a slow-burning fire, there's another protein people eat far more frequently, one that acts like gasoline poured directly on top of that fire. It's convenient, it's everywhere, and it carries a hidden danger few people ever see coming. But just understanding this isn't enough, because the next protein is even more dangerous, more deceptive, and it's sitting in millions of refrigerators right now, without anyone realizing how fast it accelerates kidney decline. And once you understand how red meat fuels a slow-burning inflammation inside your kidneys, it becomes easier to see why the next protein is even more dangerous. Because if red meat is the fire, then processed meats like bacon, sausage, ham, and deli slices are the gasoline poured right on top. They don't just inflame the kidneys, they overwhelm them. And what makes this so alarming is that most people see processed meat as a lighter choice, something quick, convenient, and harmless. But convenience often comes with a hidden price. I'll never forget a man named Harold, 71 years old, soft-spoken, polite, and genuinely trying to take care of his health. He sat across from me with blood pressure that kept skyrocketing and kidney numbers that kept slipping year after year. What frustrated him most was that he had given up steak years ago. "Doctor," he told me, "I only eat turkey ham now. It's lean and easy." Lean, yes, but kidney safe, not even close. When we looked deeper into his routine, everything clicked. 3 times a week, sometimes more, he was eating hidden salt bombs and phosphate-loaded meats that were quietly sabotaging his kidneys from the inside out. Here's the part most people never hear. It's not the protein in processed meat that destroys your kidneys, it's everything added to it. Every slice of bacon, every thin piece of ham, every deli cut is packed with sodium nitrates and inorganic phosphates. Sodium spikes your blood pressure, forcing your glomeruli to push harder, like an overworked pump struggling to keep up. Over time, that pressure damages the filter walls, causing leaks, swelling, and reduced filtration speed. Meanwhile, phosphates, especially the inorganic kind used in processed foods, enter the bloodstream, rapidly binding with calcium to form microscopic crystals. These crystals settle into your blood vessels and kidney tissue, accelerating a condition called vascular calcification. And once those deposits form, they don't simply disappear. They age your kidneys years faster than they should. Science strongly backs this. A study published in the Journal of Renal Nutrition followed more than 1,500 older adults who ate processed meats 3 or more times per week. After just 4 years, their average eGFR dropped by 12 milliliters per minute, a clinically significant decline that pushed many of them into early-stage kidney disease. 12 points might not sound like much, but for your kidneys, that's the difference between managing and descending, between healthy and headed toward dialysis. But the good news is that your choices still matter. If processed meats are something you enjoy, you don't have to abandon them completely. You just need to outsmart them. Before cooking, soak bacon, ham, or sausages in cold water for 10 minutes. This simple step removes up to 30% of the sodium and rinses away surface nitrates. Then cook them at moderate temperatures, never over crisp, or burn them to prevent even more toxic compounds from forming. Little actions like this can add years to your kidney's life. Let me ask you something directly. When was the last time you ate a deli sandwich, bacon breakfast, or sausage dinner? Last month, last week, yesterday? If any of those moments sound familiar, don't feel guilty, feel informed. The real danger isn't eating these foods once in a while, it's eating them without awareness. Because kidney damage doesn't happen from one meal, it happens from habits repeated without knowing the cost. And if you think processed meats are the worst offender, brace yourself. Because there's still one more protein, one that looks innocent, pure, even nourishing, that quietly places the heaviest daily burden on older kidneys. Most people consume it proudly, thinking it strengthens their bones and boosts their energy. But beneath that comforting image lies a hidden strain. Your kidneys feel every single morning. And knowing this still isn't enough, because the next protein is even more misleading, gentle on the tongue, but exhausting for the kidneys, and most people never realize its impact until the damage is already done. And once you understand how processed meats push your kidneys to their limit, it becomes clearer why the next protein is the most deceptive one of all. Because unlike bacon or sausage, this one hides behind a pure white color, a comforting taste, and decades of marketing that told us it was good for your bones. Yet for aging kidneys, whole milk can quietly become a daily burden, one you never feel until the damage has already settled in. I learned this lesson through a patient I'll never forget, Margaret, a warm, soft-spoken, 65-year-old grandmother who came to see me every 6 months. She was disciplined. She had cut out red meat. She avoided processed foods. She walked every morning. She followed every instruction I gave her. And yet her creatinine kept creeping upward. Each visit, she looked more frustrated. "Doctor, What am I doing wrong? I'm trying so hard. When she said that, her voice cracked in a way that still echoes in my memory. So we sat down and carefully reviewed her daily routine. Then it clicked. Every morning, as a healthy habit, she drank a full glass of whole milk. She believed it was nourishing, gentle, and kidney-friendly. But what she didn't know was that whole milk contains a dense protein called casein that's heavy, slow to break down, and leaves behind large amounts of nitrogenous waste. And when kidneys age, they struggle to eliminate this waste efficiently. It's like running your washing machine 3 cycles in a row without rest. Even the strongest motor eventually wears down. To help her understand, I explained it this way. Imagine your kidneys processing every protein you eat as if they're sorting laundry. Clean small items, easy, but casein is the heavy soaked blanket that slows the entire machine, making everything work harder. Day after day, that workload adds up, and your kidneys, already slowing after age 50, feel the strain immediately. The science supports this. In the Framingham Heart Study, researchers followed more than 1,900 adults over 60 for 6 years. They discovered that those who drank 2 or more glasses of full-fat milk per day had a 33% higher chance of losing more than 5 mmol of eGFR, a significant decline in kidney filtration. And the more whole milk they consumed, the faster the decline occurred. It wasn't the calcium. It wasn't the vitamins. It was the heavy casein load, the same silent pressure that Margaret was unknowingly placing on her kidneys every single morning. But the solution wasn't to eliminate milk completely. Instead, I taught her how to make it gentler, dilute whole milk with warm water around 40-45 degrees, then stir in a small pinch of cinnamon. The warmth helps break down casein, making it easier to digest. Meanwhile, cinnamon provides mild anti-inflammatory support, helping soften the kidney's workload. I also asked her to drink it alongside fiber-rich foods like oats or apples. Fiber slows absorption, giving the kidneys breathing room instead of forcing them into another heavy filtration cycle first thing in the morning. And she wasn't alone in this. Many older adults rely on whole milk for comfort, especially as an easy breakfast replacement. But comfort doesn't always equal safety, especially for organs as delicate as the kidneys. So if you're listening right now and you drink whole milk regularly, I want you to pause for a moment. Think about how your body feels in the morning. The heaviness, the slow start, the subtle bloating. These aren't random signs, they're whispers from your kidneys asking for relief. But identifying this final harmful protein is only half the story, because while some foods place strain on the kidneys, others offer protection, healing, and real improvement. And the first one in that group isn't just safe, it actively helps lower creatinine, reduce inflammation, and stabilize your filtration rate in ways most people have never heard of. But knowing this still isn't enough, because the next protein doesn't just avoid harming your kidneys, it begins repairing them from the inside out, and its benefits start where whole milk's burden ends. And once you understand why whole milk silently exhausts your kidneys, it becomes easier to appreciate that not all dairy is the enemy. In fact, some forms of dairy, when used the right way, can actually help your kidneys recover. And ironically, the very solution begins where whole milk causes the most damage in your gut. Let me tell you about someone who taught me this lesson in the most unexpected way. Her name was Ellen, a 64-year-old retired teacher who had spent years bouncing between fluctuating creatinine levels. She was gentle, thoughtful, and one of those people who followed health advice with quiet determination. When she walked into my office, she complained of digestive discomfort, bloating, and a sense of internal heaviness she couldn't explain. After she stopped drinking whole milk, thinking it was the source of the problem, she expected to feel better. But her symptoms persisted. That's when I asked her a simple question. How often do you feed your gut, not just your stomach? She looked at me puzzled, so I introduced her to a combination many people overlook: plain unsweetened yogurt mixed with a spoon of freshly ground flaxseed. She hesitated at first. Isn't dairy bad for kidneys? She asked. And that's the moment I explained one of the biggest misconceptions in nutrition. Whole milk burdens the kidneys, but fermented dairy supports them. The difference lies in what yogurt contains: probiotics, living beneficial bacteria that help repair the gut lining and reduce systemic inflammation. And inflammation is one of the biggest hidden drivers of kidney decline. When your gut microbiome is unbalanced, toxins like urea and ammonia leak into the bloodstream, placing an enormous burden on your kidneys. But when your gut is healthy and stable, your kidneys finally get the breathing room they desperately need. Then comes the second part of the formula, ground flaxseed. Flaxseed is loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, lignans, and soluble fiber. Omega-3s calm inflammation. Soluble fiber binds excess phosphorus and cholesterol, preventing them from reaching your kidneys. And when you combine these with yogurt's probiotics, something remarkable happens. A two-sided system of protection, the gut heals, the kidneys rest, and the filtration rate stabilizes. The science behind this is even more incredible. The gut microbiome, an aging study which followed more than 1,800 adults above 65, found that those who consumed unsweetened yogurt at least 3 times per week saw an average 7-point increase in eGFR over 12 months. And those who added omega-rich seeds like flax maintained even better results. This wasn't a supplement. It wasn't a drug. It was food, real food, used strategically. 2 months after starting her morning yogurt bowl, Ellen returned with a glow I hadn't seen in years. Her bloating disappeared. Her energy returned. And when we reviewed her labs, her eGFR had increased by 7 points. She wasn't on new medication. She hadn't done anything extreme. She had simply fed her gut the right allies. So here's something I want you to ask yourself. When was the last time you took care of your gut? The way you take care of your meals, your schedule, your family, because your kidneys are only as healthy as the environment surrounding them, and your gut sets the tone for everything that happens downstream. But as powerful as this yogurt and flaxseed combination is, it's only one piece of the healing puzzle. Because there is another food, tiny, ancient, and often ignored, that protects your kidneys on a cellular level and lowers creatinine in a way yogurt alone can't achieve. But knowing this still isn't enough, because the next nutrient is so small, yet so powerful, that most people underestimate its ability to restore kidney balance, and skipping it would mean missing one of the simplest kidney healing tools you have. And once you realize how the yogurt and flaxseed combination helps your gut and kidneys work in harmony again, it becomes even more exciting to look at the next ingredient, because this one isn't just supportive, it's protective. It forms a microscopic shield around your kidneys, defending them from inflammation, oxidative stress, and dangerous spikes in creatinine. And despite being one of the smallest foods on earth, its impact is one of the biggest. I saw this most clearly in a man named Thomas, a 60-year-old accountant who walked into my clinic exhausted in every sense of the word. He looked defeated. "Doc, I'm doing everything right," he said. "Low salt, more water, no red meat. But my creatinine is stuck." When I reviewed his diet, everything looked clean, except for one thing. He had cut out all sources of omega-3 fats. No fish, no seeds, no healthy oils. His kidneys weren't just tired, they were inflamed. That's when I introduced him to something he had seen on store shelves his whole life, but never paid attention to: chia seeds. Tiny ancient seeds used for centuries by civilizations that understood their strength long before we did. He raised an eyebrow when I suggested 1 tablespoon a day. This tiny stuff, it's not going to change anything. 3 months later, his lab results told a different story. His creatinine dropped by 0.4, his blood pressure stabilized, and his energy, once trapped under layers of fatigue, finally resurfaced. What made the difference? Omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and soluble fiber-3 forces working together like a protective army. Omega-3s reduce inflammation by lowering C-reactive protein CRP, one of the strongest markers linked to kidney decline. Antioxidants shield the delicate vessels inside your kidneys from oxidative stress, the kind of damage caused by years of processed foods, high blood pressure, or uncontrolled blood sugar. And soluble fiber slows down sugar absorption and binds toxins, giving your kidneys the chance to rest instead of constantly battling waste. The science behind Chia is just as remarkable. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed more than 150 adults aged 50 and older for 3 years. It found that consuming just 2 grams of omega-3 from chia daily lowered the risk of chronic kidney disease progression by 25%. That is not a small benefit. That is a measurable shift in your kidney's long-term trajectory. But there's one secret that unlocks chia's full power: you must soak it. When chia seeds absorb water, they form a gentle gel that makes them easier to digest and maximizes nutrient absorption. Without soaking, many of the benefits pass through unused. Just 15 minutes in water is enough. Mix them into yogurt, blend them into smoothies, or simply stir them into a glass of lemon water for an antioxidant boost. Before you continue listening, I want to ask you something directly because reflection creates change. In the past week, have you eaten anything that contained omega-3s? Be honest with yourself, because your kidneys can only heal when the inflammation inside them begins to cool. And chia seeds do exactly that, one spoonful at a time. But even with chia's incredible power, we're still missing the final piece of the puzzle. Because while chia seeds fight inflammation from within, there is another protein, one that comes from the ocean, that doesn't just reduce creatinine. It improves blood flow, strengthens filtration, and lowers the long-term risk of dialysis in a way no seed on earth can match. But knowing this alone still isn't enough, because the next protein brings a level of kidney protection so profound that skipping it would mean missing one of the strongest natural tools for restoring healthy filtration. And once you understand how chia seeds calm inflammation and give your kidneys room to breathe, you're ready for the final protein, the one that completes the healing circle. Because while seeds protect your kidneys on a microscopic level, this next protein improves something even more essential: blood flow. And without healthy circulation, your kidneys simply cannot survive. They need oxygen, they need nutrients, they need a steady, gentle current of blood to stay alive. And no food supports that better than mackerel. One of the clearest examples of this came from a man named Robert, a different Robert from earlier. He was 67, retired from engineering, and tired of being tired. He told me something I hear from so many older adults: "Doctor, I feel like I'm just surviving, not living." His blood flow was sluggish. His hands were cold. His face looked pale. And even though he had cut out harmful foods, his creatinine refused to drop. So I asked him to try something simple. Not a supplement, not a detox, just small portions of baked mackerel 2 to 3 times per week. He looked at me skeptically. Fish. That's going to fix this. But he agreed to try. And 3 months later, the results spoke for themselves. His eGFR increased by nearly 6 points, his blood pressure stabilized, and his energy returned in a way he hadn't felt for years. What made the difference wasn't magic, it was omega-3s, specifically EPA and DHA, the premium forms found in fatty fish like mackerel. These omega-3s do something extraordinary. They make the tiny blood vessels in your kidneys more flexible, more elastic, and more capable of filtering blood efficiently. They also boost nitric oxide, a natural compound that widens blood vessels and improves circulation. Better blood flow equals better filtration. Better filtration equals lower creatinine. Science confirms this. In the cardiovascular health study, researchers followed more than 170 adults over 65 for 4 years. Those who consumed oily fish like mackerel at least twice a week had a 28% lower risk of chronic kidney disease progression. Their creatinine levels stabilized, their inflammation markers dropped, and their overall filtration ability improved significantly compared to those who rarely ate fish. Not because fish is light or lean, but because omega-3s repair the vascular system that kidneys depend on. But how you prepare mackerel matters. Frying destroys the omega-3s and creates harmful compounds. The best way is simple: bake it in foil with a few lemon slices and a drizzle of olive oil. This preserves the delicate fats, locks in the nutrients, and prevents oxidation. Pair it with steamed vegetables or quinoa to balance phosphorus and sodium levels. These choices don't just feed you, they engineer your bloodstream for recovery. Now, I want to ask you something directly, because your answer will help you understand your own habits better than any lab test. When was the last time you ate fish rich in omega-3s? A month ago, a year, or never regularly? Your kidneys feel the difference even if you don't. Every bite of mackerel is like a microdose of healing designed by nature to support filtration, reduce inflammation, and give your kidneys the circulation they need to repair. And remember, the story of your kidneys isn't about being perfect, it's about making smarter choices that add up over time. Because while mackerel strengthens your blood flow and filtration, there's still one final truth you need to hear, one that ties every protein, every habit, and every decision together. And this last piece might be the most important one of all. But knowing this still isn't enough because the final message reveals a simple everyday habit that multiplies everything you've learned, one that could determine whether your kidneys keep failing or finally begin to heal. And now that you've learned the truth behind the proteins that harm your kidneys and the ones that help rebuild them, you're standing at a turning point because your kidneys don't ask for perfection. They don't expect you to change your life overnight. They simply ask for a chance to rest, a chance to recover, a chance to finally work with you instead of struggling against the choices you didn't know were hurting them. And here's the part I want you to really feel: you are not powerless. Your kidney numbers are not your destiny. They are a reflection of yesterday, not a prediction of tomorrow. Every decision you make from this moment forward, every meal you choose, every step you take, every small shift in your routine becomes a vote for your future health. Those votes add up quietly, steadily, and beautifully, just like the slow but steady decline that once scared you. Except this time, the direction is reversed. This time, the decline turns into progress. I've seen people in their 50s, 60s, even 70s reclaim their energy, stabilize their creatinine, and rebuild kidney strength just by making these small, consistent changes. If they can do it, so can you. And you're already ahead of where they were because you now understand what most people never learn until it's too late. So here's my gentle challenge to you. Don't let this video be just another thing you watched and forgot. Save it. Rewatch it when you need clarity. Share it with someone you care about. And if you want guidance on this journey, real guidance, science-based, simple and practical, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications. Because every week I'll be here bringing you another piece of the puzzle, another strategy that can protect your kidneys, lower your creatinine, and give you back the health you deserve. Your kidneys may be quiet, but they are not weak. They are waiting for partnership, patience, and consistency. And when you give them that, they respond with energy, clarity, and a kind of peace you can feel in your entire body. This is Dr. Johnny reminding you that your next meal, your next walk, and your next choice could change your health story forever. Stay hopeful, stay committed, and stay with me, because your best days are not behind you. They are just beginning.